Hello everybody, Keith here again on this very dull and extremely wet last day of 2022, and today we're going to have a look at the plants that are in bloom. I've got quite a lot more that are coming into flower that haven't actually come on. We'll have a look at what I've got. Before we start, I hope you had a great Christmas or holidays or whatever you celebrate, if anything, at this time of year, and I wish you all the very best for 2023. I hope everything goes well for you and for your plants. So let's make a start. This has only got a couple of flowers out so far. This is unfortunately getting sort of all round up behind this this stake. Can't do anything about that without smashing the flowers. Difficult. It's Dendrobium Spring Dream. It's the white one that is available at a lot of outlets. I've had it a few years now. Might be a bit better. We'll see it a bit clearer now. Get stuff out of the way. It's a plain white Dendrobium nobile type. I said these will be quite cheap. Haven't done brilliantly for me in the last 12 months. The canes it put out were not very good. So I've had a few mixed results this year, one way and another. Some plants have done much better, some haven't. The only change I made, or the only significant change I made, was using CalMag, and I've got a few reservations about that. Not that it hasn't helped some of them to grow, I'm absolutely certain of that, but I think an excess of it goes the wrong way. When I first started using it, I got a lot of growth, but it was very lush and not very strong. So I took advice and cut it back, and it's helped, but I don't think it's the complete answer. So I've stopped using it for the time being, and I may only use it for a short time each year. I know some of these nutrients are supposed to be mobile and non-mobile, but obviously an excess of nutrients is not good either. We know orchids don't like being overfed, and as I say, CalMag does not appear to be without issues. So anyway, that's Dendrobium Spring Dream. We've got quite a few buds that have got to start opening yet, but not as many as I've had sometimes. And indeed, to give a lie to the old thing is that if you get it all wrong, you'll only get cakeys. I've got a cakey there, but the flowers elsewhere, so explain that one to me. I don't actually believe that old mantra. Right, that's the first one out of the way. Okay. I'm very pleased to see Psychopsis mariposa back in flower. I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but we were having some work done on the conservatory, and the guy just didn't realise what he was doing, reached across and took the end of the stem off, and I thought, well, that's the end of that. But it's branched out again and is obviously flowering. The disappointing bit is this. This was a flower spike that it grew for me, but that's died at the top. I don't know what's happened, but from about here upwards, it's just completely shriveled. I've not done anything whatever with it. I'm just going to leave it be, see what, if anything, happens, and I shan't cut it off until it's actually died right back. But it's been repotted. It's obviously not that unhappy because they can sulk, but yet again I'm having to be very careful with the amount of water you give it. This one, like my Zygopetalums, likes moisture. It doesn't like to stay wet. So you've got to tweak the amount of water you give it. I mean, in the summer, when it's growing hard and when it's warm and the water will evaporate as well, you can dunk it. In the winter, it's a case of getting a small amount of water or fertiliser water or whatever and just trickling it through just to keep things moist without actually getting anything wet, because otherwise it'll stand in wet and it doesn't like wet feet. So that's Psychopsis mariposa, and as usual you can see the next growth coming in behind. So that's one that's going to keep going. That sits on an upstairs windowsill at the moment to try and keep it a little bit better, so it doesn't get too cold. I mean, down here I had two Phalaenopsis type Dendrobiums, Sarnut Polar Fire and Sarnut Thailand Black. They've both grown well last year. They both put up really nice big flower spikes, and we had a cold snap at the beginning of December. It got down to about 13 in here one night and both spikes blasted. Nothing I can do about that, but so be it. You know, some you win, some you lose, because of that cold snap I'm probably going to end up with a much better flowering of more of my Dendrobium nobile type than I've had recently. Okay, next one. This is a no ID Oncidium type hybrid. The label that came with it calls it Avoyles techiara. This is the first reflowering for me. It was in here. It wasn't very happy. You can see we've got some crinkly leaves and one thing and another. Didn't look very happy. So I moved it out of here and put it on the kitchen windowsill, which is never gets all that hot or cold. Of course it's a bit steamy because of all the cooking and boiling the kettle and what have you. And lo and behold, it's flowered. Now I'm finding that it's relatively easy to reflower a new plant, because you then build it on the reserves it got before you bought it. Get it to reflower the second time and reflower well the second time is the thing. What I did find the other day, in this new growth, you can't see it yet because it hasn't come out far enough, but there is another spike. So that's both the new growths it's put out this year are doing okay. And just to prove the point that you never quite know when these things are going to start chucking roots out, this has just started putting roots out from the base of that new growth, even though it's in flower. And I've got one or two that are like that. They seem to start the new growth, obviously working on the stored energy. Some of them will flower relatively early, like this is obviously doing, and then they put the roots out. So they can be quite tricky to manage because you've got to keep everything going, well fed and watered and what have you. But you're doing it on roots that are last year's or before, so it's a bit of a delicate balance. But that's a no ID Avoyles techiara, and I think that's quite a pretty one with that a white column and the deep purple, very pretty. I think I'll bring these two together. These are two Ristrepias. This is Cuprea, and that lives in a fish tank, whole fish tank, no additional lighting, just got some cling film over the top of the tank to keep a little bit of moisture in, and at the moment that's living in here. In the summer it goes upstairs where it's a little bit cooler for them, and now it's down here, and it's not doing too badly. But when you look at this one, which is Falkenbergii, this is the second Falkenbergii I got. And this is a slightly smaller, yellow flower. But this is growing much better. This is the one that is in a taller old fish tank with a little LED light over the top, and that light seems to make a big difference. So this is growing quite nicely. Not been repotted from when I got it from Burnham's, this one has. So I think I'm going to have to try and find a way to give these more light. I do have a lid for the old tank, and it's got a small fluorescent strip light in the top. I'm very worried that if I'm not very careful I'm going to end up burning them because it'll be quite bright. So I'll have a bit of a think about that, but I think that's got to happen, that they do need more light than they're getting at the moment from natural sources, or generally from natural sources. This is Miltonidium Bartley Schwartz Highland. Very, very pretty Oncidium type hybrid, but very, very short flower spike this year. This and my Catatanti also had very short flower spike, and I'm beginning to think this is possibly a side effect of too much nitrogen from the CalMag. So something is not right anyway, but it has flowered, but not properly, if you know what I mean. It should have a much taller spike with more flowers on, but it's tucked away right down into the top of this new growth, and the new growth doesn't feel wonderful. Well, I've got some roots on it, so we'll see, but it does look like CalMag is not, as I said, is not the be all and end all panacea for all the older growing orchids. Mini Mark just does not know when to stop flowering. Still flowering very, very well. We've got a new leaf coming. We've got an old leaf dying off. Oh my word. I've just found 3 more spikes. I don't know whether you can see it down in here, but there's actually 3 more spikes coming on this thing. So my goodness me, as I say, this is one that just does not know when to stop flowering. This could look like an absolute picture in a couple of months' time. So dear old Mini Mark, one of my favourite little flowers. I do like the small, simpler flowered flowers, although the big ones are pretty, but this No ID Phal is still going. Very regular bloomer for me. It wants a repot, I think. It could certainly do with a look at, because these roots are not great, although if you do give them a good soak they'll turn green. So there's quite a lot of good roots in there, but it needs a look at. Even though it was only done last March, I think this needs another go. Pink Twilight, of course, still going, although this is the end of that spike. I'm having real problems in here and throughout the whole thing with mealybugs this year. Some of it, I think, is when you take plants to shows, and it's then almost inevitable that things are going to, if there's anything about, it's going to happen. I've had real problem with the plants that went to our show in October ever since. The Doretis pulcherrima has been absolutely almost, the flower spike has been almost wrecked by mealybugs. I keep spraying and spraying, but there's obviously a lot of the little devils tucked away somewhere. So that's, yeah. So now this one's going to have to be sprayed. There don't seem to be very many on it, but that's a good thing to do. But yeah, I've got to look after that. And finally, Paphiopedilum moornii doing a beautiful job for me. I've got one out and obviously two coming, growing very well. Always has done well for me ever since I got it from Lawrence Hobbs at the Tatton Park Flower Show about 2017, I think. Something like that. It's always done well, this one, grown well, and always flowered very, very well. So that's the last of the orchids. As I say, there's quite a lot of plants that are coming into flower. The Cattleya that I got to flower, that was Xing Ming Beauty Rainbow. That's come and gone. The flowers lasted about 3 weeks, so it was just opening last time and it's dropped. I've got another one here, another Cattleya type which I bought at our show, nothing to do with me obviously, but that's actually put a sheaf up since I've got it home. There's this Epidendrum. Now this has grown very, very well. These canes are much taller than the others, but we've got a flower spike on this, on two of the canes. So I think I can look forward to that. Beautiful orange flowers that one has. There's a lot, an awful lot of Nobile types coming into flower. One, I honestly don't know what this thing is. I bought this when I was looking at adding air plants to the collection, and it's the only one that's actually done any good. And I bought this on this piece of bark with the Spanish moss, and the Spanish moss is growing like a weed. But this, it's not a Tillandsia, because if you look at the flowers, not a Tillandsia at all. But whatever it is, I was told, treat it like an air plant and it'll do fine. And it's, I wouldn't say it's done fantastically well, but just lately it seemed to be doing all right. And then all of a sudden, bingo, out comes this flower spike. Now I've had a few problems with it, trying to get it to separate the spike, and the spike got a bit distorted because I don't think the humidity is really quite high enough in here. consistently, but it will have a nice display next month. It's got quite it got sprays of flowers, which really aren't anything like Tillandsia flowers. So it'd be interesting to see if anybody got any bright ideas as to what it might be come next month when it should be out. I've got Bariona nearly out. I've got a Twinkle that's nearly out, but nothing else that's actually doing any good. And also all the Phalaenopsis types as well. So that'll do for now. Once again, I wish you a very happy New Year 2023, and all the very best to you and yours. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it interesting. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.